Today I'm going to solve Still Trail by Black Doom. If you'd like to try this puzzle for yourself, it'll be the first link in the description. Let's have a look at the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, so we're going to place the digits 1 to 9, once each in every row, every column, and every 3x3 box. Yin-Yang. Shade some cells such that all shaded cells are orthogonally connected and all unshaded cells are orthogonally connected, and no 2x2 area may be fully shaded or fully unshaded. So, first of all, orthogonally connected just means connecting across an edge rather than diagonally. So an example shading might be something like this. Let's do that and that and that. And then, okay. So if we have the green cells as shaded and the yellows as unshaded, then if we take any green cell, we can travel along green cells to get to any other green cell, only taking orthogonal steps, so going across cell borders and not corners. If I had made this one green instead of yellow, then these would not be connected orthogonally, so would not match the rules. Let's try that. There we go. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. I am trying to get that back to yellow. There we go. And if this one were yellow, then I would have a 2x2 area that's unshaded, which would also break the rules. So that was not would not work. Okay, German whispers. Any two orthogonally adjacent shaded cells must differ by at least 5. So having read the rules a little earlier, I chose green for my shaded color because that's the typical color for German whispers. But if this were a 3, then this would have to be an 8 or a 9 to be at least 5 away from it. Okay. Sweeper. Digits in a circle shows how many surrounding cells, including itself, are shaded. So if this cell were a 1, then there would be exactly one shaded cell inside this 3x3 area. And if this were a 2, there would be exactly 2 in this 3x2 area because they're the surrounding cells, because this is on the edge. Okay. Kropki. Digits separated by a white dot must be consecutive. So if that was a 2, this could be a 1 or a 3. Not all dots are given, so if this were a 3, then this could still be a 4 or a 2, even though there's no white dot there. All right, I am going to restart the puzzle to reset the timer. And let's begin. Right, let's talk about Yin-Yang first of all. The first thing to know about Yin-Yang is that I can never have a 2x2 checkerboard pattern like this. And the reason for that is no matter how I try and connect the yellows together, like this, I am going to isolate one of the greens from the other. And if I try connecting the other way round, I'll isolate one. And if I try connecting the two greens together, I'll isolate a yellow. So I can't do that. Similarly, along the border, I can't have one stretch of one color, then another stretch, or then one stretch of the other color, then another stretch of the first color, and then that, because as soon as I try to connect green to green, I will isolate this yellow from this yellow. And if I try to connect yellow to yellow, I will isolate the green from the green. I can, however, have one stretch of each color, or I can have the entire border being one color. Okay, that is my Yin-Yang secrets. German Whispers secrets. First thing is, I can't put a 5 on a German Whisper, because if I put a 5 on a German Whisper, then the next digit would have to be 0 or less, or 10 or more, neither of which are valid sudoku digits. Then I'm going to be alternating between above 5 and below 5. So let's mark this. If this were 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I tried to make this also from 1, 2, 3, and 4, so both from the below 5 set, the low set, then the maximum difference between these two would be 3. And that is less than our minimum required. Likewise, if I try putting two digits from 6, 7, 8, 9 next to each other, the minimum required would be still 5, but the maximum I could get would be 3. Now, we have an extra constraint, which is that on this German Whispers line, because it is the shaded cells in the yin-yang, it's all orthogonal connections. Now that's important because if this is a low, then I know, let me mark that cell there, even though this isn't connected yet, I know if I've determined that that is on the one of the shaded cells, then I can tell whether it's high or low. And that's because in order to get from one low digit to the next one, I always have to take a multiple of 2 steps, because I'm going to go high, low, then high, low. So if I've already determined that this is on the German Whisper and I've determined that it's low, I can tell that this is going to be low as well. And basically, if I colored the entire grid black and white like it were a chessboard, then all digits on the German Whisper on the white bishop's color would be the same, and all the all the low digits on the German Whisper will be on the same bishop's color, and all the high digits on the German Whisper will be on the same bishop's color. And that can work in 2 ways. One, as I said, I can determine whether this is high or low, even though it's not yet connected. And the second thing is I can determine that if I determine that this cell is a high digit above 5, that it can't be on the German Whisper because it's on the wrong bishop's color for high digits, if we were in this situation. Okay. One more thing that I think is useful to think about is that across a white dot, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to find all the 5s in a moment. Yeah, I think I am. So assuming I've got all the 5s across a white dot, there will either be 2 low digits or 2 high digits, and that means they can't both be on the German Whisper line. So they can't both be shaded across a white dot. So let's start with finding the other 5s, because I'm pretty sure I can do that. Yes, there's one there. This box has 4 5s looking into it, so there's one there. And this box has 4 5s looking into it, so there is a 5 here. Now, we have already said that 5s can't go on the German Whispers line, so they must all be unshaded. Now, this cell here is either a 4 or a 6. If this were a 6, that is telling me that all 6 of these are shaded. Well, that cannot be true. A, because we already know that one of them is unshaded, and B, if they were all shaded, then we would have a 2 by 2 of shaded cells. So multiple reasons, that cannot be a 6. That is therefore 4. Now, if this cell were unshaded, then all of these would have to be shaded in order to match the count, but I would have a 2 by 2. So that cell is a shaded cell. Now, to avoid a checkerboard, that one must be unshaded. Okay. So, at least one of these two cells is shaded. And the reason for that is yes, if these were both shaded, I still need one more shaded cell. So one of these two, at least, is going to be shaded. And we know that both of these cannot be shaded because there either have to be 2 low digits or 2 high digits, as we previously discussed. So I have at least one unshaded cell here. That means that I've got an unshaded cell here, I've got a shaded cell somewhere in here, and I've got an unshaded cell somewhere in here. And therefore, the only run of shaded cells has to be between these 2 white dots. So that means that all of this around the edge must be unshaded. Okay, that was very nice. And now I can mark in some shaded cells because of avoiding 2 by 2s. This one has to get out to meet its friends. This one has to get out. This one has to get out. Okay. This 5, in fact, tells me that those 2 are shaded. That completes this clue. This 5 is completed by those. This 5 is completed by those. This is a 1 because it has now completed all of the shaded cells it can have. This is either 3 or 4 because it already sees 3 in its neighborhood, and it could include that one. So that's 3 or 4. And that's useful because that sets our high and low for the entire grid. 4 cells that are on the German whisper that are shaded. So we know that that is from 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me do this slightly more efficiently. So that's low, high, low, high. Those are high. I'm not doing coloring along the German whisper because I'm using coloring for the yin-yang, and so it's just a little bit more confusing. So I'll just use pencil marked digits. So that's high, low, low. And we'll come back and tidy up in a moment. And then low, high, low, high, low. All right. Now, 4 and 6 are interesting because I can't place a 4 where both of its neighbors see each other because the 4 can only go next to a 9. It's the only digit that's at least 5 away. So this cannot be a 4 because I'd need to put 9 here, and that would break in sudoku. Likewise, I can't put a 6 here. Well, in fact, the 3 and the 4, the 6 and 7 are too close to 3 and 4, so that is 8 or 9. This could still be a 6 because those two digits don't see each other. I can remove a 4 from there just by sudoku. That can't be a 4 because I'd need multiple 9s. That can't be a 6 because I'd need 1s that see each other. That can't be 4. That can't be 6. Okay. So, where do I look next? Right, this must be a 2 or a 3 because I've already got 1 and it can't be a 1. So at least one of these two is going to be shaded. Right, these have to both be low because, no, they don't have to both be low. That's not true. They have to both be low or both be high. If they were both low, they would be 2, 3. That would make that a 4 and that, oh, that can't be a 1 because of this one. So they can't be 2, 3. So they are both high. And now this is the wrong bishop's color to be a high digit and on the line. So that is unshaded. This 4 is on the correct bishop's color, so we don't know yet. Okay. Let's think. This 5 has 2. Okay, this cell here can see a maximum of 3. So that's a 1, 2, or a 3. This cell here can see a maximum of 3 shaded. So that's 1, 2, or 3. Can both of those be shaded? Right. If this is shaded, then this has to be shaded to avoid a checkerboard. And if this is shaded, this has to be shaded to avoid a checkerboard. So that means that if those two are both shaded, both of those have to be shaded and we get a 2 by 2. So exactly one of those two is shaded. So in order to get my count, these two must be shaded. Okay, so that's from 1, 2, 3. That can't be 6, that's from 7, 8, or 9. So we've got we've got 4 low digits, so in the row. So these are from 6, 7, 8, and 9. Oh, right. These two must be unshaded to avoid 2 by 2s. Okay, we know that these are both the same color. No, we don't. We know that they're both low or both high. That's right. They're both low or both high. But we also know that they can't both be green. And now there's a couple of reasons. One is that one of them would be on the wrong checkerboard, the bishop's color, and the other is that we would isolate this bit of yellow. But they can't both be yellow because then we get a 2 by 2. So we actually have one of each here. Okay. This must be a low digit because we have all of the high digits in the box. So that's 1, 2, 3, or 4. Actually, not a 1. Not a 1. There we go. All right. This digit here, it sees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we know that exactly one of those is seen, so that's a 6. Yeah, we know that exactly one of those is green, and it already sees 5, so that must be a 6. So that's not a 6. So that's not 6. Okay. So if that's green, then it's low. If that's green, then it's high. All right. If this is green, then being a 4, that makes this 9. That makes that 8, and that 3, and that 2. That all seems reasonable. If this is green, then it must be a high digit. That would then connect to there. Okay. So this digit here, let's have a look at this. It already sees 2 by the existing count. It's a maximum of 7. But if it were 7, I would have a 2 by 2 in this area. So it can't be 7. So it must be less than 7, but it can't be 6 or 5. So this is now a maximum of 4. So that is a 1, 2, 3, or 4. If this were a 1, I would have a 2 by 2 of unshaded somewhere up here. So it can't be a 1. If it were a... Oh, in fact, it can't be 1 because it already sees 2. Right. yeah, if this were a 2, I'm not adding any more cells to the existing count, so I'd have a 2 by 2. If this were 3, it could itself be shaded, which would then avoid 2 by 2s. If this were 4, how would that work? Yeah, if this were 3, it has to be shaded, because if it's one of those two, I'll get a 2 by 2 of yellow there, and if it's one of those two as my extra one, I'll get a 2 by 2 of yellow there. If this is 4, as long as it's shaded, that stops anything, but I could have a shaded here and a shaded here, and that would be fine. Okay. But we've managed to whittle that down to 3 or 4, which is nice. Okay. Right. I can't put 9 on this dot, because as soon as I put a 9 on this dot, it'll need an 8 to go with it, and that'll break that cell. So neither of those is a 9. Now I have to have an odd digit and an even digit on a dot. So this is either 6, 7, or it's 7, 8. Either way, there's a 7 on it, so that's not a 7. Okay. That's all well and good. And, oh, we've colored this as unshaded, so now we've completed that count. All right, that makes that a 2. That's not a 2, that's a 1 or a 3. Those are not 3, and this is a 4. That makes that a 9. That is now not a 9. 9 is in one of these two, so that's not a 9. So 9 now has to go here. Okay. That makes this digit a 3. Yeah, I could remove 3 from there. That makes that a 1. Okay. This now cannot be shaded because it would definitely go next to that, and that's not a 9. So that is unshaded. This now must be shaded. And that's fantastic. Okay. This is not a 4 by sudoku. I now have a 1, 2, 3 triple. That feels like it's got some potential. This one is not a 1 by sudoku. Okay. I know I've got to get this digit, this cell out to meet its friends, but I'm not quite sure how to do that yet. All right, let's have a look at this. That's at least a 3. Nominally, oh, but it can't be a 3 because then I'd have a 2 by 2s of unshaded. So it's now at least a 4. Can this be a 4? If it's a 4, it has to be unshaded itself by bishop's color. And then, so if that's unshaded and a 4, I still need one more shaded cell, which has to be one of these two in order to fulfill this clue, making it a 2. But then I have an unshaded 2 by 2 there, so that can't be a 4. It can't be a 5, so it's now at least a 6. It can't be an 8, because if it's 8, that would be the 8, and I have a 2 by 2. If it's a 7, how would I do 7? Right. If I shade this, then no matter how I do my 7, I'm going to get a 2 by 2 somewhere. Yeah. And if I unshade it, then I'm going to isolate the unshaded cell and have a 2 by 2 up here. So that cannot be 7. That is therefore a 6. And if it's a 6 and shaded, then these 3 have to be, nope, those, if it's a 6 and shaded, then that would be a 1. That would have to be unshaded. So I would have that, and I would need 2 more, one of which would be here. Right. If this is 6 and shaded, then where do I get my 2 more that I need from? I can't take that one along here, because then I'd have a 2 by 2. And I can't take this one without taking this one. I can't take that one because if this is shaded and these are unshaded, then I'd have a checkerboard. I can't take this one because of 2 by 2. So that is unshaded. Let's get the right color. There we go. All right, so that is not 6. That is not 6. All right, I can't have both of those shaded. I could have both of those shaded. So I have a maximum of 2 in here shaded. Right? I can't have all 3 shaded because I get a 2 by 2. So I have a maximum of 2 shaded. That makes this shaded in order to reach my count. That's going to be important in a moment. I can't have both of those shaded, but I still need two, so this is shaded. And if I shade that one without shading, well, if I shade that one, then this is isolated. So this is shaded. This is unshaded. Okay, this being 3 or 4 means that that can't be a 7. This is a low digit and can't be a 4, so it's a 1 or a 2, can't be a 3 by sudoku. That can't be a 3. This is now 7, 8, or 9. And that gives me 1, 2, 3 high digits and 1, 2, 3, 4 low digits. That's not 3. This is now a high digit. Okay. I've got 3 high digits here. These two are low. In the column, I can't have a 2. So from 1, 3, and 4, I can remove a 2 from there. This 2 makes this a 4. This is now a 7 or 8. This 9 makes this an 8. So that's not an 8. This now can't be a 4. And this can't be a 4. That's a 3. And it has all of its digits already shaded. So these are now unshaded. And that's not 3. That gives me a 1, 2 pair in the column. That makes these two digits 7 and 4. Okay, if this is 4, this has to be a 3 or 5 by the white dot. We've got all our 5s in the grid, so it can't be a 5, and it can't be a 3 because of this one. So that is a 7. Now that cannot be shaded because it's on the wrong bishop's color. That makes this shaded, that color, and that has to be 8 or 6. And can be either, and then we need to escape, and that's going to be a low digit. Can't be a 4 because that can't be a 9. Okay, this can't be a 4 because it would need 2 9s. That gives me a 1, 2 pair. That makes this a 4. That's now 9. That isn't, nor is that. That is not a 3 because of this 3. It gives me a 1, 2 pair in this column. Could be useful. Got a 1, 2 pair in the row as well. That is not 7. That gives me an 8, 9 pair. That makes that the 7. That is now 6 or 8. This 1, 2 pair makes this a 3, and actually the count of shaded cells makes it a 3 as well. This 5 has 3 of its 5, so it needs 2 more. If both of those were shaded, then those would be unshaded and cause a 2 by 2. If both of those were shaded, then these would be unshaded and I get a 2 by 2. So we have one in here and one in here. Not quite sure I know how to do that yet. Maybe it's going to be this. Oh, we can avoid a 2 by 2 by unshading that cell. Okay. That's not 9. That's not a 3. Or a 1. That's a 4. Okay. That means that's not a 4. This digit must be known as, well, not quite. It's 7, 8, or 9. Got a 1, 3 there. All right. That count is done. That count is done. So something we can look at here in more depth. Not sure just yet. All right, let's have a look at this cell. Can't be a 2 because no matter which cell I took, I would have a 2 by 2. So it can't be a 3 or a 4 or a 5 because it sees those. So it's at least a 6, and that makes it unshaded because because it's on the wrong bishop's color. And that means it's a maximum of 7. I can't do 8 ever in one of these circles. But apart from anything else, I've already got 2 unshaded cells. Now, I can't actually do 7 because that would be the 7, and that would isolate these two, so this is a 6. Okay. So now there is exactly one unshaded cell, exactly one unshaded cell here. And question is, can I spot easily where it is? Right, it has to be one of these 3. Doesn't it? No, it could be that one. Right, this has to get out somehow. So I need an unshaded cell that connects to this. So that has to be one of these 4. So these 2 are going to be shaded for sure. And now those are low digits because of the bishop's color they're on. So they're from 1, 2, and 4. And at least one of them is going to be a 4. In fact, this 1, 2 pair makes this a 4. So that's not a 4. In fact, that also made that not the 4. So now these are from 7, 8, and 9. Okay. So if that's unshaded, then this gets out that way. If that's unshaded, it gets out there. If that's unshaded, it gets out there. And if that's unshaded, it'll get out here. And all of that seems reasonable. Okay, if this is shaded, then it would be a 9. If this is shaded, it'll be a 9. Feel like I'm missing something. Well, that's not a 7 by sudoku. That 7 makes that a 4. How am I doing on 4s? Well, I can actually place a 4 here and a 4 here. So that gets me all of my 4s. 6s. Can we place some 6s? We can. By sudoku, this is a 6. So these two digits, or these two cells, are from 3, 8, and 9, and that one's not a 9. If it's green, it's a 3. Okay, I can't do this with, or can I? Right, I can't do this pattern with green because that would cause both of these to be 3. But I could do this. This would be a 2. This would be 3. This would be 1. That would be 2. That seems reasonable so far. I can't do that because, in fact, even better. That can't be a 1 because I've already got 2 digits. So this is a 1. So either I have this with that going on, or I have this with one of those two. Right. This, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 green digits. If I make this green, that is a 2 by 2 of unshaded. If I make this shaded, then right, this is unshaded because if I made it shaded, then that's a 2 by 2. So that's shaded, and therefore must be high. No, wait, that's not right. That can't be a 9. That must be unshaded. Right, yes, if I make this shaded, I get a 2 by 2 of unshaded. Therefore, that must be unshaded. Right, that is the finally correct way of seeing that. So now exactly one of these two is shaded. So if that is shaded, it would have to be a high digit and would have to be a 7 or a 9. That would make that shaded, which would also be high. That would make this 2. That would be 3. That would make that shaded, which would have to be a 7, and that would be a 2. Okay. Only one of these 4 is unshaded. Therefore, at least one of these 2 is shaded, and therefore at least one of these 2 is a 9. Both of those cells see that one. So that is an 8. So that's not an 8. That's not an 8. That's a 7. That's not 7. This must be a 7. That's 8. And these are from 1, 2, and 9. And this must be a 9, regardless of its color, because of this is 1, 2. So that's a 1, 2. And then these are from, that 1 makes that a 2. Let's resolve those while we're at it. 1, 2. Okay. So these 2 digits are now from 1 and 9. And that can't be a 1, so that's a 9. Okay, that could still be shaded. It'll work. This 1, however, makes that 3 and that a 1. That makes this a 2 and this a 3. That forces this to be shaded. We can see by sudoku that that's a 2. This can't be a 6. This must be a 7 in order for the German whisper to work. So either this is shaded or these 2 are shaded. Okay. By sudoku, yes, that can't be a 7, that can't be a 7, this is a 7. And now this can't be shaded because it can't go next to that 4. Or it can't be shaded and next to the 4. Now the 4 has to get out somewhere, so that one is shaded. That can't be shaded or it would be too close to the 7. So that is unshaded. We know that this can't connect here, so this must connect up here. So it could be both of those or that one. Well, if this one is shaded, then how does it connect? Yeah, this would be the last of the 5 and the last of the 2, and then it wouldn't connect. So both of these must be shaded, and that's unshaded. And that completes our shading. So now this must be, these 3 digits are 3, 7, and so that's a 3. This must be the 7, and the last digit was a 6. Right, this row is completed by a 2. This sees 9 and 7, so that is 6 or 8, but it's not a 6, that's an 8. These two digits are 9 and 6, and we can place those. 9 and 6. That makes this an 8. That makes this 9. That makes this 6, and this here 8. That gives me a 7 here and a 6 here. We now get a 8 in this row and a 6 here. Nope, not a 6, a 7. That's better. That's a 9. The 2 in this row makes this a 1 and this a 2. This is an 8. That's 3. This is 9. This is a higher digit, it's not 6, 7, or 9. That's an 8. We get a 1 put in there. And then we finish off with a 2, a 6, and a 3. And that is a very lovely puzzle. I really enjoyed that. Good way to manage the interaction between the yin-yang and the bishop's colors for the German whisper and the sweeper cells. Yeah, fantastic puzzle. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much to Black Doom for setting it. Well, if you like this solve, then please hit the like button. You can subscribe to see some more, and I would love to hear your comments. I'm looking forward to next time. Seeing you.